Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do a little deck update, but mainly do a locals report. I had locals on Thursday this week. Let's mainly uh I guess we can go over the deck changes. If you watched my last deck profile video, there's only been two changes since then. And one of the big changes has been the OT change. Before I was running the generic blue OT, the one that gives a crit, and then you get a card back from drop back to hand. Um, that card was that OT at least was the only viable option I felt you could run in this, unless you go next stage spam, which I don't agree with, or it's very high rolly. You're casinoing. Um, then if you're casinoing next stage, I feel like it's okay to go dark states OT, and then you're also hoping to check it early. Other than that, the OT is pretty useless. Most opponents PG the Vanguard, so I really hated the Dark States OT. And then when we finally had the blue OT, I ran that for the longest time. I like that one. It felt like the Dark States one, but with the option to move your crit around. And then I guess if you checked it early, it was really bad. That was one of the things I hated about that OT was it felt like Dark States OT's good early and then bad otherwise. Blue OT felt like it was good most of the time except turns one or two. Then this OT, I feel like it just feels good all the time, regardless of when you check it. If you're going second and you check it turn one, they usually have nothing on the board, and you're just drawing three and then one from the OT itself. So you're drawing four. And then if you're playing my list, you already drew from your cycler and then from GG on turn one as well. So you just drew six cards while having three units to attack with on turn one. It's huge. The same can apply on turn two if they don't call things out. And if they do, you're getting rid of their units while also getting an OT hit in. So I really found this OT to be really good. And then the next card was the Regalis piece, the new one. Before I had Bracing Ladder. Bracing Ladder can still be argued for, and especially if you have a Shiranui meta. At locals, we don't have a Shiranui meta. I feel like there's only one at most, usually two. So I feel like Bracing Ladder always felt bad. It felt good if you're going first. You lose the dice roll, they make you go first. You have Bracing Ladder, your Vanguard swinging for 18 base unboosted, and you draw a card, you fill up your soul. Then if there's some deck you're playing against that can remove units, then yeah, Bracing Ladder felt nice. But other than that, it was pretty much useless. I love seeing this card at any point in the game, besides obviously turns one and two because you can't play, but this card feels so good to just draw it and then draw two more cards immediately. It gives you advantage. It also gives you the counter charge option. Jet only has two ways to counter charge, so this being one of them. So if you don't run this, you only have one way of counter charging. So that's a nice little side benefit. Um, I'll have the deck list up on screen at some point while I'm talking about the matchups and whatnot. That way you guys can have a visual. But in terms of locals, round one, it was four rounds. So round one, what did we pair against? We paired against the Pope deck. I don't know his name. I lost dice roll. I had to go first, and I had one of the worst opening hands ever. Three triggers, OT, and the goat. The goat obviously saves the hand, but you're doing nothing turn one. I think I drew a PG and pitched that. Um, but I feel like Jet just did Jet things where I have all that shield. I used the goat turn two to bounce the OT back to the deck. That's a nice option that the goat has, is that you're able to bounce your triggers back into deck before you go into Fate Rider. So that was really nice. The match just went back and forth. I did not check OT. I think that was the one game where I did not check OT. Um, and then what happened? We just played back and forth. I scale. My numbers are too big. I win. I feel like that's just Jet things. Obviously, the matchup is very a rogue deck. I mean, people don't consider Jet good, so could be more equal if you want to frame it that way. But then round two, we played against Chaos. They elected to go first because they wanted to go first, and they knew I wanted to go second. So it's like best of both worlds for both of us. That one I did manage to flip this, so I immediately got to see the power of this. I went second and I flipped this turn two, I believe. And they had a rear guard, so that died. And then I drew three cards off of this, which made my hand huge because they're going into their first turn three, thinking that like, oh, I have the advantage against a stride deck, and now I have this huge hand thanks to the OT, and I've killed one of their units, and I got two damage in. So it puts me. This is just huge tempo. Like you flip this on a stride deck, turns one or two. I feel like it's impossible for you to lose unless they sack you back. But they have to sack you even harder back. I feel. So the game was decided pretty much from the OT turn two. So round two, I did beat Chaos. So at this point, I'm XO. Round three, I went into Zorga. This was one of the weirdest games because they kept healing. I kept blocking, so we were both low. So they were always able to heal at one or two damage. I think they healed two times early. And then at some point, we had both drawn so much from our decks that they decided to damage deny me. And the damage denial, it did hinder me, or it slowed me down in the sense that I wasn't doing many attacks, but I was still drawing. I was still triple driving. I was still proccing GGs, Zargons to fill the soul. The game went back and forth until I want to say we both got down to single digit number of cards in deck where they were denying me as Zorga, and I was just swinging face nonstop as much as I could. I figured, yes, you damage deny me, but then I'm a straight deck. I have crest. I should win late game. The only way I can actually lose when you try to deny me damage is if I go turbo draw and deck myself out. But usually during those game states, I'm very wary of and conscious of what's left in my deck and how many cards are left and what that translates to into a number of Vanguard attacks. So eventually, my numbers just got huge. My upstream was swinging for 80 plus, and I'm like, you only have four cards in hand. And so eventually I won. I think that game I checked OT defensively, so that slowed down tempo for him as well, and forced that weird game where we were just I was getting damage denied and I was just doing three attacks, but my strides were I was scaling slowly, I guess, because I wasn't able to flip one up all the time. And then final round, I got paired into Razile. This was the hardest, closest match I feel. I did go second. I semi rushed. I only was able to get. I did get the Lamina Ling Zargon combo turn one, which meant I couldn't proc GG turn one going second, but that was okay. I felt like I drew enough. Um, that was pretty much a very normal game. I felt they were able to proc Saragons every turn starting turn two, and at least two Saragons per turn starting turn two. So that's pretty much what secured me the game, though, was that they were drawing so many cards every single turn, and I was managing to live barely. I know opponent healed at least three times, but I did six heal on their, I want to say, sixth, seventh turn. Anywhere, one of those late turns, I managed to six heal. It was my turn. I did check this offensively, and I did elect to draw as many of the cards as I could because they had three cards left in deck. So I felt like, oh, that's their final turn. Even if I draw these cards, if they choose to swing with Van, I can block everything. And if they choose not to swing with Van, I can still block everything. And I still had enough left in deck for me to be able to swing with Van. So pretty much, I mean, OT did matter in the sense that it gave me the hand to block in case his deck still had triggers left. But if I think I still win by Deca just because it was their turn and they drew. Now they weren't able to swing with Van, and so they would have two attacks, and I had six cards in hand. So yeah, I went XO. I only went XO. It's been a little while since I went XO. I've been going X1s a lot with this deck because of the lack of goat, and then we only had goat for a week, I believe, a week or two. But I felt like the goat plus these two cards, the OT and the Regardless piece, have really solidified Jet. It's a really strong deck. I think it gets one last power boost in set three, I believe, and then after set three comes out, and then you should be ready for the BCS format if you want to take Jet. I'll most likely take Jet. I've always said I'm gonna take Jet to every single event that I can. So yeah, that's been the locals report and deck update. Hopefully you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.